Welcome to Blood, Sweat and Talanoa. BST is a podcast about three guys from Poirua. There's two of us tonight talking about health and well-being, community issues, and a number of things, but always looking to engage. I'm here with my uso Te Ale. How are you?
Yeah.
Apologies for our brother Te Ho, who's got some family commitments at the moment, but he'll be back with us shortly. So Te Ale, take us away in terms of our wonderful guests for tonight.
Aye. Kia ora, Shane. Thank you for introducing. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have our first international guest, actually, from Western Australia, who will be joining us tonight. And talofa lava, Vilai Kelemete.
Talofa lava. Firstly, I'd like to thank Shane and Te Ari and Te Ho for inviting me on. So, look, just a quick introduction. Born 1974, born in Samoa. My parents had an opportunity to bring us over, so we moved over to New Zealand when I was 5. I think it was 79. I had 5 siblings, and then our 6th one was born in New Zealand, our youngest sister, Sose, in 82. My journey to rugby league, I was after school one day. Joseph Lanival, a good friend of mine, we were going up to his house to play some Commodore 64. For all you guys that know, back then was the newest thing out in video games. But before we could play those games, he had to go to St. George under 15 training. At that time, I was playing for VR College rugby. So all we knew in our family were rugby and soccer. Didn't really know much about rugby league until I went down to Joseph's training, or box we used to call them, and fell in love with the sport. Simple concept, 6 tackles to try your best and then hand it over. And fell in love with it. Did all right at training in my school uniform and nomads, and then the manager come up to me, Mr. Brian Coe, and asked me a question and said, "Do you want to play league?" And I said, "I'd love to." He goes, "Do you want to play?" And I said, "You have to ask my dad." And no lies, he put me in his van with his 2 sons, Terence and Barry, and we drove all the way home. Knocked on the door, asked my old man, "Dad, Mr. Coe wants to speak to you." So he knew Mr. Coe obviously through school, and then they had a discussion. My dad asked me, "Do you want to play?" I said, "Yes." And my dad said to Mr. Coe, "I only have one requirement." He goes, "What's that?" "You pick him up and you drop him off every day for training." And he did. And so that's where I started playing for St. George under 14s, under Charlie Tua. He was my first coach. Took us through. We actually won the championship under 14s, under 15s, through to under 16s, obviously with Charlie Tua. Then I got an opportunity to go to Poirua City. From there, obviously, look, I was playing under 19s, but got a chance to play first grade under Ken Laban. And that's where, obviously, I met a lot of my good friends now through rugby league in Poirua City. But majority of them were through St. George when I was young. When I joined St. George, it was a big Tokelauan community. So I have a lot of Tokelauan friends. And then the game of rugby leagues connected me to so many cultures. So that was the great opportunity. So 1992, I think I was just turning 18 and had an opportunity to play for Wellington Rugby Union for topside. So John Leach invited me to come to a trial. I was playing fullback, and obviously I think that trial made me decide to go to rugby league, because I was playing 15 and didn't make the squad, but the other number 15 that I played against that day that made the squad was no one other than Christian Cullen. So when Christian made the team, I decided, okay, 93 coming around, it was a chance to go on the JK tour. So 92, we had a pre-season, and this is where I really got into my first hard pre-season with a couple of other Poirua boys. Shane Laulu was one of them, Tino Brown, Jerome Brown. We used to do extras, what we called extras. Shane brought his sled along. First time I seen a sled. But I tell you what, I increased my speed by 10, 15 meters just by doing the sled. Then 93 rolled around, went away to the Junior Kiwi trial, tournament down in Christchurch, I think it was. So we're down there, and obviously Bob Fulton came down to that tournament. So obviously watch a good friend of mine, Billy Weepu. So look, I took it as an opportunity to try and show him my wares, and got forward to the tournament. And the story is history. Signed with Manly that tournament before we went away on the Junior Kiwi tour. So
Yeah. So Vilai, talk about that tour, because there was a number that group was actually a pretty special group in terms of players that represented New Zealand, that made that squad from Wellington, but also others from around the country that went on to some pretty stellar careers. Now, who was in that touring squad?
I'll tell you what, a great squad, like you said, Shane. Our fullback and captain was Henry Paul. We had Peter Lima on the wings with Robert Ofanoa. We had great centres, Lemmy Tato, made it from Wellington in centres with Tavita Vaikona, who I think still holds the record for the highest tries in Super League over there. Bradford Northern, Jermaine McDonald, Joe Vangana, David Fatialofa, Brian Hanare, Chris Vaifua is another one, Billy Weepu, obviously, as well made it. Look, Chris Vaifua I have to touch on, really good friend of ours, and rest in peace. Such a talented young man, and look, like anything else, if he had good head on his shoulders, and he could have made anything. So, but rest in peace and lots of love, Chris.
It was it's great. And now, look, what was the experience like playing at Wembley?
Oh, unreal. Like, I mean, just the changing rooms itself, you walk in there and you can just feel the aura of players that have gone past, and a bit of history up on top of the changing rooms. There are all these rugby boots, and they're boots of players that first grade have chucked their boots. So a couple of us guys chucked our boots there after the game. But the atmosphere, because we were curtain raising and we were pretty successful on that tour, we didn't think that would have too many in the crowd before the main game. But lo and behold, the crowd was awesome, and then we got to watch our top side after that, and it was even, so great atmosphere, Wembley.
That would have been good. Who was the coach for that touring squad as well?
Frank Endicott was our coach. Went on to be obviously the Auckland Warriors coach, and then obviously the Kiwis. Yeah.
Hey, Vilai, I have a question.
Yes.
But we're going to backtrack now, because right at the introduction part, you mentioned a few names there, which far out I haven't heard donkey's years. You mentioned Box, far
Yes.
out. Old young fella, VR boy as well.
Yeah.
And then you also mentioned Mr. Brian Coe. Yeah, he was an awesome manager back in the day as well. He took care of any injuries. He'll be around at your house with this. Do you remember a red lamp that he used to carry around?
Infrared light. Yeah.
You had that injury, he'll be around there with the infrared and make sure you put this on. There's every 2 hours, put your ice on. Yeah, Mr. Coe and the young fellows, Terrence and Baz. Baz had a season with us Masters 2 years ago, so can't wait for him to come back again and throw him on the wing again. But no, it was really cool to hear. Those names from the past, blast in the past, and also young Chris. Yeah.
And then look, Vilai, Cannons Creek boy, Hampshire Street. What was what are some of the memories in terms of there, including that famous sleep out?
I tell you, actually, we're Bedford, 53 Bedford Street.
Bedford, yes.
Very, very. The bus used to go up there, but no, loved that area growing up the creek. We had a great bunch of guys that we used to always go down to. If you remember, Winley School had that park out where everyone used to drive past. So good friends of us, Joe Filimu, Seal Thomas, we'd all go down and play touch there, and that's where the All Stars started from. We had Lafayette, who was and the Talanoa boys who were trained down there, and asked us to come and join the All Stars team, and so we did. But growing up in Poro, I love Poro. I love my upbringing. Everyone, talks sometimes so badly of Poro, but when I was growing up, we had friends. You could walk the streets. Everyone knew you. It was a sporting town. Like if you have a look at how many league teams just out of the Poro area, right down through to Parramatta, the Raiders, the Marlins, and then across the, obviously Waitangi Royal Vikings. When I was back then, we had the St. George Dragons, obviously Pora City, Phoenix back then in that time. But no, I love growing up in Pora. I'll always be a P-Town boy.
And look, one of a quartet of brothers, and also you're not the only international in the family.
No, my younger brother, Salimi, he actually made it before me. He made the under 15s, and so proud of him. He actually is the first Kiwi in our family, so proud of that. And I'll be honest with you, the best player in our family is probably the most quietest one and humble, and I'll just say that would be Kelly.
Roger that, yeah.
So talented, but so humble at the same time. And then we had the crazy brother, the oldest one, Albert. You didn't mess with Albert, he put us in our place if we were meant to be. So, but no, love all my brothers, and my sister, even Nessie. She actually came over to Australia and made the Australian Jillaroos.
Exactly.
Second year, she was playing for North Sydney Bears, at the time. And so she's actually made the higher international level than all of us. So she's an unsung talent as well. And then obviously my youngest sister, Sose, and her oldest boy at the moment, Quaid, has got a contract. He's playing rugby in England at the moment. So he's over there applying his trade. So we're very proud of all my brothers and sisters and my nephews and nieces.
Now, look, after that tour, going to Manly, going into a professional environment, what was that like in terms of, a young guy moving to the big smoke in Sydney and getting used to what was the professional game?
Look, I'll be honest. There was only one thing in my mind, and that was the people that got me.
That's okay, bro.
Did it for my old man. Hard bastard. But, yeah. I just had to make the first squad. That was it. That was my attitude. No excuses. The old man said no excuses, VO college people would know this. Whitford Brown is our famous running hill. Used to take me, Salimi, down to the gates of Pora Police College. We'll start our run from there, and there was a bus stop right at the top of Whitford Brown. Yeah. And we used to run up there, and then he'll jump in the van, turn us around, and he'll drive us back down and start again. We do it 3 times a night, and second time round, the last VR bus going home up Whitford Brown would see us running this yellow van, half on the footpath and half on the road, driving behind us. And, I was just telling my little brother, run, bro, otherwise he's going to run you over. But, that was it. People used to say, hard father, but it was his way of showing us how to get fit. And he always said, son, if you're fit, you can do anything on the field. So going over to Manly, that was my mindset, is to just make first grade. And my gosh, the heat, that first preseason in January, 40-degree heat, but you just had to acclimatise, get used to it. But very nerve-wracking when you go up to training and you're standing next to the likes of Ian Roberts, Mark Carroll, David Gillespie, legends of the game, and training with them. But also learn off them as well, because they were well in front. You don't make that level if you just don't keep at it. And that's another thing. So, my mentality was to get a first grade spot, and try my best, So, that was...
What was the environment like? How did you find it in terms of just either how you sort of developed your game, and what was sort of the initial differences from sort of, your origins and, coming from Wellington?
When you're playing back at home club level, it's team against team. But once you get into that professional environment, it's player versus player, especially in your own positions. Because come Monday morning, the busiest place in the club was the injury board. because you were hoping that someone in your position was injured, and then you will train hard that week to try and fill that spot. So you're really competing against your buddy, basically. If you were both second rowers or loosies or backs, you're actually competing against each other to get that spot, and I'll touch a bit later on why I left man due to that.
Yeah. So look, that you come back to New Zealand and came back to the Lion Red Cup and a successful season in 1996 in that as well. And so look, what that journey. I remember what you talked about it at the time by moving back to New Zealand with that shift was sort of a couple of steps back to get one forward, and an outstanding season in '96. Into the Lion Red sort of 13 and all that as well. But you could see definitely sort of the differences that your being in that Australian environment had sort of made for you.
Yeah, I mean, look, what happened there is I signed with Super League, and signed with the French team, but their season wasn't starting for another 9 months. So Ken Laban rang me and said, Vilai, come over and have a run with the Hutt Valley Dolphins at the time for that season, 96 season. And look, really enjoyed myself that time. I felt, it's funny, hate to say it, I just felt like another level above everyone else. I just felt like I could do things that I normally couldn't do, so that was the that was a great season. I mean, I believe they had the first North versus South, and Wellington were in the South, so I made that squad, and that's where obviously we made the New Zealand residents and stuff like that. But that format, I think they were trying to copy the State of Origin format, and I think it only happened for a couple of years. I'm not sure. I think on 96 was that season I remembered, and played some really great guys in those squads as well.
Yeah. And then look, how was Europe in terms of how did you find that? In terms of, again, a different environment. How was that in terms of just being able to sort of craft your trade as a footballer?
Difficult, because it was a different sort of football. I mean, the French football, look, they were just quick. They didn't have any big fellas, but also the discipline wasn't there, So your football sort of suffered a bit because you were playing their style of football, and I'll be honest, there was fights galore. Crowd used to come for the fights, not the game. So it was a different atmosphere. Didn't stay there too long for that reason. And then got an opportunity to sort of come back to Australia and signed under Wayne Pearce with Balmain Tigers at that time. So.
Yeah. So what was that? What was that experience like? Sort of being under, someone of that sort of stature in the game.
Right, fitness was his thing, and I loved it. Don't get me wrong, but his fitness levels are a whole different level, So, look, I just want to reach out to Ty Severe's family. When I was at Balmain, we were the only two Samoans there, so we trained very tightly together, and he went away for Christmas, went to Hamilton, and obviously his siblings were drowning. He went and jumped in, saved his siblings, and poor Ty passed away. So shout out to Ty Severe's family. So.
Yeah, look, very tragically taken at such a young age, and also really at the beginning of sort of what was going to be a pretty successful football career.
Correct. Yeah.
So, Vilai, in terms of playing, how did you make that sort of transition? And we're going to talk about the roles that you've had in recent times and that as well. But just interested in terms of then that sort of transition from playing into other bits of being involved with the game.
Look, I'm a realist, and I knew that obviously I had a couple of knee reconstructions throughout my career. And so I started preparing for life after football. So I was always into numbers and stuff. So I started off working in unloading containers at Breville, and made my way up through the transport ranks. And then obviously nowadays I'm in management positions, sort of delegating jobs and on that spectrum. But I knew I'd love transport. So I got into
Just lost you for a second.
There we are.
There you go.
All good. Can you hear me? Still hear
Yep,
me?
we can hear you. Yep,
Hello?
yep.
Go ahead. Yep.
We can see you, Vilai. Can you hear us?
Oh, there we are. Closer. Yeah, can you hear us, Vilai? Just got to click on.
Can you hear us?
Yep. Oh, we can hear him. There's just a bit of a technical issues there at the moment in Australia, Western Australia.
We've just lost him. Hopefully he'll be back shortly.
Yeah, so that's interesting, eh? Being
Here he
brought
is.
up back in Porirua there and just...
We've got you can hear us, Vilai?
Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
Oh, yeah, you're back on
Don't
board.
move.
Oh, all good.
Don't move. Stay right there.
That's perfect.
Hey, you're looking
Yeah.
perfect now. You're perfect in the shape. Just probably a little step back, little bit back. Yeah, that's fine.
Awesome.
Yeah, so look, and we moved into transport in that life sort of after football. And look, you still maintained a real connection to the game in terms of in different roles.
Yeah, no, look, I wanted to give back to the game any way possible. I still love fitness. So I had an opportunity once I moved over here to Perth. I reconnected with one of the brothers from back in Porirua. Jerome Brown was coaching Kelemete Bulldogs. So he was looking for a trainer, and it just fit me to a T. So
Perfect.
I jumped in there, give Jerome a hand, and it's where I caught up, reconnected again with Tino Brown as well, his brother. So yeah, did that for a couple of years, and then I think in 2016 I got in a bit of trouble with disciplinary action. It's a funny story, and then obviously I had to go into NRLWA judiciary office, that sort of thing. But there was this lady there that was just so professional in what she did and everything, and she just happened to be Samoan. So I said to her, look, after that judiciary meeting, I said to her, look, can we have a chat? Because I've got this idea I want to run by you. So long story short, that was the beginning of Rugby League Samoa WA. Because I'd be speaking to my wife and I said, look, babe, I really want to start Rugby League Samoa WA in Western Australia. So we did our due diligence. We obviously looked around to see what other organisations were happening around Australia. So I realised there was a Rugby League Samoa Queensland, and then there was Rugby League Samoa New South Wales. So I approached them and asked them how they started up, and all they said is they got a approval from Rugby League Samoa headquarters in Samoa to obviously open up don't like saying chapter, but that's
branch.
So they opened up one in Queensland, one in New South Wales. So I got the approval, got the letter, and then we started. So
nice.
I approached NRLWA, was one of the opportunities to sort of get involved. They had a look at my record and thought, I could probably be a good cultural and community liaison officer for the Pacific Islanders. So I did that for a couple of years and actually assisted with their SG ball sides over here as well. One of their coaches one year was Jamie Papa, really good friend. Used to play with Moss Rummage at obviously Eastern Suburbs, Roosters back then. So, and look, all I did was obviously have a look at the young guys and sort of have a chat with them in regards to, their mindset and where they wanted to be. And if they wanted to have rugby league as a career, then obviously just, give them my experiences and what they should do and shouldn't do. But, at the end of the day, it was solely up to them. All I could do was offer some advice. If they took it on board, so be it. But I felt that, that was a good place for me to be at that time. So,
So did you have? Was there anyone that's now currently playing? that may have come through from your advice?
Those ranks, Rona Curtis
Oh,
Rona,
yes,
that
yes.
squad. Good young boy. Obviously there was a couple of other guys that come through, but he one springs to mind. Jackson Tapine is another one who came over. Obviously had a bit of issues with Canterbury Bulldogs. So there was the talent pool is huge in Perth. For Perth though, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They really needed to go over east and experience different levels of football. Yeah.
Given your experience, your own personal experience as a player in that system, are you seeing anything different from today's sort of cohort of players, or these next sort of generations from your own time in playing?
Social media.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, look, there's pros and cons. If you use social media right, you could promote yourself, in a positive way. But look, at the end of the day, the kids now, they have more, more opportunities if they're in the right system to make it. I love the Arrive. It used to be called the Arrive Alive Cup, which is school competition with your Kebras and your, all those colleges, Westfields and all that. Because obviously the kids come through the systems, and then obviously games are televised, and then clubs, it's easy enough for clubs to just pick up players. And most of if you have a look at the NRL now, I reckon I'll say 80% of them came through that school system. Yeah.
So it's that's the kind of system that sort of caters to bring that sort of talent through, to sort of go on to sort of successful careers, or at least in terms of a solid first grade career.
Correct. And look, I'll be honest, not everyone's going to make it, but you're given every chance to make it, sort of thing, if you have the right mindset.
Yeah. Like, look, you'd see a lot of players that are in that sort of that mid area. They're either going to go through or they're not. And that it's not necessarily about their playing talent, but like you say, it's a big pool. So there's only a sufficient sort of amount or finite amount of numbers. I mean, what's the advice you give to players that are in that sort of position where, they're sort of on the cusp, but, it's such a big pool of talent that, not everyone's going to make it?
Oh, look, my advice if they're young players is the parents need to be heavily involved, because at the end of the day, if they want their child to succeed and move forward, they have to be 100% behind them. I take example, my parents, the same thing, 100% behind whatever sport we play. And I think that's the key. It's got to start at home.
Yeah.
If there's a good home life and everyone's happy, you perform, that a kid's mindset as well. You don't know what they're going through and what their family situation. So it's very hard. That's what I found, obviously, doing that sort of role that I did as a community liaison officer. It's some sad stories out there, but it makes it harder on that kid to make it if they want to make it. And if they do and have their own mindset, they'll find a way. But there needs to be support systems for those kids.
I was at, it's about 10 years ago now with Craig Seal. We took the Wellington under-15s team to the national tournament, and there was a lot of scouts from numerous clubs that were there at the tournament to look at players. And one of the first questions they asked was, what's the kid's family like? And so that was always interesting that was the first question. Wasn't anything around talent or that they're able to observe. It was more, what's the environment that this player's been in?
100%, and I think that still happens to this day. It's all good to be a good player on the field, but it's better to be one off it, and it starts with family and stuff. So
Vilai, what makes a good welfare officer and a mentor for players? Just from around what do you need to do to be in that position to be able to, so the kids can actually get a real benefit from what you can share with them?
I think experience. It's funny, nowadays kids doing that role, the first thing the kids will do is go on Facebook or whatever to check who you are, So I think some experience has to come a long way, because if you're going to obviously tell a kid what to do, you should have done it yourself.
Yep.
You sort of thing. So everything, experiences, to be a good welfare officer, your experience.
Yep.
I take a lot of my own experience into that role, you know. So, but I always say knowledge is power. So the more you can tell a kid from your own experiences, the better, you know, and especially when you've got backing with it.
Yeah. Now, tell us about the Harmony Games.
Okay. Once we started Rugby League Samoa, we needed to do something to obviously be involved. You know, you just can't have an organisation and there's nothing to play. So I approached NRLWA in 2016, 2017 for a concept of a Harmony Nines, which was basically what they used to do in Queensland and New South Wales all the time. Nine-a-side culture, Samoans versus Tongans, the Fijians, all the communities, you know. So the idea was that I wanted people from the rugby union, the basketball, the AFL, to come and play this game in summer. It's a 9-minute half, 9-a-side, similar to sevens, but it was more fun, you know. So approached NRLWA, they said, yeah, brilliant, organise it. So, okay. So I got a group of friends from different cultures, you know. I got the Tukalauans together, New Wayans, you know, the Tongans. We all commuted the Papua New Guinea, so we formed a multicultural group.
So no cookies, though.
Oh, cookies as well, you know.
Oh,
They're
yeah,
most
that's
important.
That's
Their
good.
drums, I tell you now, Terry, their drums could be heard for miles, man.
Right.
It's like a big celebration, you know. So long story short, the
Awesome.
community ran that first Harmony Nines. Successful, very successful. I got the opportunity when I was in the Gold Coast and spoke to Pedro Sivanasiva, and I said, Pedro, I need someone to come over and be the you know,
Okay, ambassador.
the face of our tournament. And he goes, leave it with me, I'll talk to NRL. And long story short, he was there as our ambassador for the first Harmony Nines. So, and it was run by the communities, you know. And look, I don't like talking ill of things, but wasn't too happy of NRLWA because we did that. There was so much revenue that came through from everywhere, you know. So we thought that every other tournament would be free for the communities.
Yeah.
Obviously, they asked for financials. They wouldn't give it. So long story short, you can run it yourself now. We'll just run our own, look after our own communities. And that's what we've done. So NRL, it's the biggest event on the NRLWA calendar now. You know, 2017 we started off with.
Yeah.
It's now around 80.
How many years now in terms of?
We're going into our 8th year.
Brilliant.
8th year. So we've been running for 8 years, and it's funny, not too many Pacific Island organisations last too long in WA. But that's one thing I'm happy about, that we just stuck strong, and through the love and the belief of my wife, another Poirua girl, Tosanga Frost. So the Frost family is obviously big in Poirua, so shout out to them.
Nice. And they didn't count on the boy from Poirua actually sorting it all out.
You know, it's funny you say that, Shane, because I tell Sanga all the time, not bad for a couple of kids from P-Town.
P-Town, I reckon.
Yeah.
Eli, look, one of the features of things like the Harmony Games is that connection with culture. And look, one of the most enjoyable times of my own football was playing for the Wellington Samoans, because one, it was footy, but there was the connection was the fact that I was Samoan, and you can see that sort of permeate through the games. What's some of the cultural aspects that you build into the Harmony Games as well as the sport?
Oh man, it's huge. We have our own culture community here that does culture stuff. We did a carver session. We've been doing carver sessions for the last 8 years. The Siva towel was so funny. The first year that we started, everyone said, Vilai, show us the Siva towel. I said, I only know the haka, because that's the only team I played for growing up. Sorry. So after 8 years now, I know the Siva towel pretty well. So
I experienced that. I experienced that on the GC, bro.
I know. I had a few under my but no, you're right, Shane. The culture it's brilliant. The war dances.
Wow.
I mean, sometimes it's not about the game; it's about the culture. You know, when you have two strong Māori tribes doing the haka against each other, wow! You have the Tongan versus the Samoan game as always, popular because it's for the big hits when there's so many gaps out there, and us typical Islanders want to run at each other. But that's our culture.
So Vilai, the like you said, you got 80 teams involved. Is that just within, or are they invited from
It's
outside?
funny, yeah. We've had the Navy, we've had police involved, fire brigade. Now we've got a team coming from England. They used to be called the Bala. They now call them the English community things. They've changed. So I think Bala was the British Amateur Rugby League Association. So the amateur side have come over from Great Britain in the tournament this year. So we got teams.
Did you invite them? Did you invite them? Like you guys sent out?
They were coming for a tour against our WA rep team. And because they came, the tour was around the Harmonies, they said they'll put their team in Harmony Nines as well. So it's become international for us as well. We've had PNG players that come over from PNG. Taranaki, very strong now. Taranaki have got...
So how did they get involved? Was it because they got family there?
Oh, they got family here. Big Taranaki following here. Hawakiro is another one. We got so many strong Māori tribe teams as well. Pikiao is another big one. They're everywhere here, boys. So it's so good to see all those communities come together. And Te Ari, the cookies kill it every year with their drums, bro.
And their what? And their mayonnaise.
Oh, mayonnaise.
Look, the other thing, Vilai, which I think is really good through the Harmony Games too, is it's male, female, so it actually is inclusive of the community as a whole. And so I love the fact that it brings everyone together.
Oh, excellent!
So is that from like children too, bro? Like
we 16s. I mean, when we first started, we had under 10s and 12s, and I think I want to get more of them involved. Because lately it's just been 16s up, but I will talk to NRLWA to see if we can. It's so rewarding when you can see young kids run out in their colours, in their cultural colours.
Cultural, yeah.
Oh, and for me, you'll have more turn up where, to be honest, men and women, it's just your family turn up. But when it's your children, your grandparents, your uncles, your aunties, everyone turns up. So. Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
That's a huge event, eh? Must take how many days? Or
starts Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This year we started training about a month ago. We've got men Rugby League Samoa WA got men, women's, masters, under 16 boys.
Masters.
Masters, yeah, they have a masters as well. There's obviously there's no points. They just play for obviously the best. Harmony team is picked. You might come last, but you might win the trophy because you're the best harmony, and that's the concept. It's about everyone having a bit of fun playing our game.
So is the Masters played like how we played in that tournament of the coloured shorts?
Coloured shorts, correct. Yeah. So,
but there's only 9 on the big field.
Very big field.
A lot of subs.
They still run at each other, They got all this gap. They take the shortest route.
Look, one of the other good things, Vilai, with this too, is that there's the participation, the players, but you're also creating opportunities in terms of people being being able to lead, being able to organise, and all that stuff as well. The natural stuff we've done in our communities, and I'd like the idea that there's an element of sort of building the capability in the community itself. So no, that sounds good.
Look, it's actually bringing communities together, our own community. I'll use us as an example. Our Samoan community here is not really a together. There's a lot of fractions in that, but I feel that Harmony Nines brings us all together. We've got Rugby League Samoa WA. We've got a Perth Samoan, and that's people that wanted, and look, we don't mind. I'm not about being just the one and only. It's more people that play our game, the better. at the end of the day, rugby league's the winner.
Yeah. Now I saw photos of you on the Masters tournament, as well as with Salimi and Kelly and that. You're still looking pretty good, bro. And in terms of your your current chapter of your life, we do this podcast around talking around health and well-being, and Taho was the inspiration around that. Sort of what have you done in terms of just looking after yourself in these in these post years from sort of playing in that?
I'm glad you brought that up. Look, I mean, each to their own, but my advice to everyone is research. I had type 2 diabetes and they wanted to feed me metformin. So I did a bit of research and study and then realised that we can heal our own bodies and stuff like that. So my only advice to people is before you put a pill in your mouth, research what it does to you. And then research for other options that you can have. There's natural. Before the Western world came along, we were using our natural medicines to get us healed. Whatever happened, so, and besides, you can't afford those. But, at the end of the day, my advice is, and that's how I've kept fit. I still love training and stuff like that, so I'm a great believer as you get older, we've got to stretch more as a 40 plus, but just keeping active and watching what you eat. I've really, I'll be honest with you, I was 130, 140 kilos, diabetes and everything, and a reality check came in, and I knew that, that I knew I could get myself fit. I believe in muscle memory. People talk a lot about it, but it's true. If you've done it once, you can do it again. And that's just the mindset. So, again, it has to be a life change as well. Just cutting out sugars is another thing. Diabetes is heavy on, high in sugars, stuff like that. So, but everything we buy now has sugar.
Sugar in it, yeah, exactly.
It's, go back to natural. Solely it's up to that person. Again, research. I could tell you a few advices, but that's just through my experiences. I think if people research and read on different things, like they say, get 3 quotes on everything. Well, read up 3 things on the same, subject, and you might find your own solution. So, but definitely, so keeping a healthy mind, healthy body, that sort of stuff. But we're having healthy choices in our club rooms now, in our canteen. Us kids, we love a meat pie and, a burger and chips. Definitely, but we give them that healthy options, sandwiches, water, that sort of stuff. So you can't really change what's been happening for years, though. That's the hard thing.
Yeah, it's good advice and that as well. So look, bro, what's some final words in terms of Mount Talanoa today?
Oh, look, you guys have, I need to reconnect like this with my other friends that I've met. I thought meeting everyone at Gold Coast is great, but we separate and then we don't see each other again. But no, my advice is life is short. Time is all we have. So make sure you have time with your loved ones.
Brilliant sort of final words, Vilai.
No worries.
Yeah. Hey, look, fantastic. Look, congratulations on the wonderful. Congratulations on a wonderful career. I know that all of us sort of went our different ways after a while, but have always been proud of those achievements. There, you're a wonderful player to play with, and just brought such energy to it. But congratulations on that wider work and leadership you're providing in the community now. The Harmony Games, I think, are fantastic, and just love that mahi, bro, in terms of all of the stuff you're doing and all of the potential of as a mentor that you can provide this next generation of players that will go on to play in the NRL. So, whawhate tele lava also, you've done a wonderful job.
Shane, can I say one more thing, please? If any of you people in New Zealand, young one, are coming over to WA, I'm the president of Vilai Bears Rugby League Club. So if you're looking for a club to come and join, hook me up.
Sounds
That's
good.
the one. That's the one.
Right, we'll get that in the link when we
Yep.
post up, and so
Yes.
we'll make sure that if you give us those details, and we'll put that in the link as well.
And then
Cool.
maybe one day St. George Masters
I'll
will
look
come
after
over.
I'll look
Nice.
after.
So Tiali, you take us out, bro.
Yeah. Vilai, thank you for sharing your journey with us, man, it's just so interesting. Yeah, I was just sitting there and just listening to what you were saying, and man, I could just feel aroha from yourself, and how you're brought into things like, you mentioned mum and dad, and where you were focused when you had to make that decision to go over there and make that starting lineup in Manly, and then your future kicked off from there. So well done to yourself and your family. Yeah, it's just really humbling. So no further ado, really appreciate your time with us today or tonight, and I'm sure our audience out there will also take in a lot of information and key points that you've mentioned tonight as well. So love you, bro.
Love you too, guys.
Kia orana, kia manuia.
Don't forget to join the page and like and subscribe, and we'll see everyone next time.
Yeah, awesome.